of my heroes are perfect. I know this may come as a surprise to you, those of you who want to watch the Justice League and stuff like that, and you think that all these heroes are good looking and muscle bound and rich, and they're perfect. They're all perfect. Every one of them perfect. Their morality perfect. Their arguments 100% understandable. Their morality intact. Their moral compass directly pure north. Well, not mine. My heroes are perfect. But I, unlike you guys who live in Hollywood and think that people who have a twitch and people who are ugly and people who are short are the villains. Well, that's because you're fucking dumbasses. Now, I'm going to tell you the story, and I'm going to be separating these here. I kind of got to. I'm going to have to separate it into the heroes of Pearl Street and the heroes of Chapel. And I'm going to tell you every single one of them is a fuck up. But every one of them saved lives, including Christopher Tapp, and that's what this one's about. I really want to do one about my brother, because I don't know anybody who's saved more lives than my brother. I don't know anyone who has literally prevented more murders than my brother. Do you know why? Because my brother is there to stop it. He is in the dangerous areas with the dangerous people. And when they pull out their knives and fucking try to stab your ass, that's right, my older brother is the one who's going to stop that son of a bitch. Everybody else will stand there and fucking watch. Is that true? No. Enter Christopher Tapp and Stephen McMillian, a.k.a. Fuzzy Bear and Mobley. Mobley's going to get a very special one, but you know what? Not yet. This is Christopher Tapp's day to shine, and of course, as with all of these things, you either die the hero or you see yourself live long enough to become the villain. Christopher Tapp. He used to date Tammy Mencher. And they got married and they had a kid. And Christopher Tapp was highly abusive to her. Highly abusive, verbally. You guys hear all of my cursing? I learned that from the best. Not just my older brother. Not just Christopher Tapp. Not just Larry Albert. No, I learned from the best. My own dad and my mother, I learned from the best. I chose not to. I knew how. I chose not to. I chose to be a good man. So there's a 13-year-old girl underneath the library, right? And there's this tweaker named Monroe, and he's got a K-bar. This is a United States Marine Corps issue knife. Now they don't issue them, but in World War II they did. And it's still a very highly popular knife. It's also illegal to carry one because the blade is over 3 inches. In the state of Colorado, if the blade is over 3 inches, it's against the law to carry it. Unless it takes more than 3 motions to remove it from the scabbard. So you can actually literally carry a sword, but you have to have, like I said, at least 3 movements before you can remove it from the scabbard, or it's illegal. K-bar is definitely illegal. Even if you have it clipped, because all you got to do is flip your thumb and pull. That's literally all it takes to remove a K-bar from its sheath. So Monroe is targeted a 13-year-old girl underneath the Boulder Public Library, and I don't know who the 13-year-old girl was. Most of it don't. I mean, me, Rabbit, Christopher Tapp, Mobley, we tried to run those kids off for a reason. We've got a hard enough time protecting those people without you making it worse. Without you showing up and having people look at all the homeless as if we might be child molesters because you won't fucking go away. In addition to the risk to you and your life, child, go away. So, Mobley is not going to let Monroe do this. So Monroe stabs him twice in the back. And Christopher Tapp is the one who subdues Monroe, prevents him from stabbing Mobley again. Mobley survived the encounter. I got an awesome x-ray of it. Says his name on it and everything. The knife looks like it goes through his heart on the x-ray. It was just behind it, and he survived. And when he survived, it was a wonderful thing. Christopher Tapp had subdued the man who was, well, he was gonna stab a 13-year-old because he was fucking methed out of his goddamn gourd. How do you think Natalie Bollinger's brain was fucking working on that shit? It wasn't. Nobody's does. I have problems sleeping because my loved ones are dead. Because I can't see the loved ones who are alive. You guys should be able to understand that, but you don't. Now, Christopher Tapp was a victim of physical abuse by a woman. He was literally sent to prison when he was physically abused. Boulder County Sheriff's Department, as well as Boulder Police Department, even harassed Tammy Mensher. Let me tell you what happened. According to an eyewitness named Matt. Matt was there. He was Christopher Tapp's best friend in the whole world. And he tells me one day that Christopher Tapp got the shit beat out of him by Tammy Mensher. She is so tiny. She got tired of the verbal abuse and got physically abusive to him. And she beat on him, and she beat on him, and she beat on him, and she beat on him. She beat on him so much. She was mounted up on top of him and pounding him in the face and pounding him in the chest. She had to take a break from beating on him so that she could beat on him some more. This is according to Matt. Now let me tell you about heartbreak. So not only did Fuzzy Bear, Christopher Tapp, get beaten up by a girl. And that's a horrible thing to say. That's what you do. When a man doesn't fight back, you make fun of him for getting beat up by a girl. If he pushes her away, though, he's a violent predator who likes to beat on women. Then later when you go back, you change your fucking story. Which is it? Did he really beat on you, or did you lie? You went back. You're sending mixed signals. How many times am I going to rescue you from beatings before you stop going back, stupid? But we get to hear about female predators, and this one right here is primarily on female predators. You may say that Christopher Tapp had it coming. You can say that all you want. She could have left. She could have left. She could have gone and taken a walk and calmed the fuck down, and she could have left him without violence. But that's not what she chose. So as Matthew is telling me this story, he tells me it a second time. Fuzzy is telling me in his little teeny tiny Mazda sports car. Nice car. And he's telling me about, they're both telling me about the beating. I've already heard the story out of both of them. When they're both telling me together now and verifying that the story is true. Well, then Matt started dating Tammy. Just a day or two after that. Imagine how Christopher Tapp felt. Here he was. He got charged with domestic assault for getting beaten on. And Tammy herself admitted to me that Christopher Tapp never fucking touched her. He never even pushed her. According to Tammy Mensher's story, this is the woman that Boulder County officers, they chose to literally lie about Christopher Tapp and put him in prison and intimidate. They literally intimidated Tammy Mensher into lying by her own admission. Christopher Tapp, trying to be a forgiving man, he's got a lot of hatred about this, by the way. When he tells me I need to let it go, oh, he has not letting this go with Tammy. Oh, no, he has more hatred than any soul I know. And it was all directed right at that woman. Every time I have seen or talked to him, in probably 10 years, it is always his hatred for Tammy Mensher. To no end. Hours on end. Horrible names that you have all heard me say. I learned from the best. Absolutely, I know how to be verbally abusive. Absolutely, I know how to be sarcastic. Absolutely, I know how to be snarky. Absolutely, I know how to name call. What's a worse thing to call somebody? A cunt or a stalker? What's worse to call somebody? A cunt or a child molester? You call somebody a stalker or a child molester, you might get them fucking killed. You call somebody a cunt, who's gonna fucking kill them over that word? Sophie Grace typed, I remember you, and Maddie Perez typed hello. Well, hello, Maddie. So don't get me wrong, Christopher Tapp absolutely is the victim of domestic assault. Christopher Tapp absolutely saved that little girl's life as well as saving Mobley's life. Mobley is a hero too, and we're going to go into that. We're going to go into some of the nastiest, dingiest, dirtiest people that you've probably ever met. I mean, I'm going to tell you about the heroics of Michael Pennington, for Christ's sake. Here's a man who Boulder police want to claim is irredeemable as a human being. And I'm going to tell you about how he literally saved my life. But this is Christopher Tapp's turn to shine. So Christopher Tapp, that kind of heartbreak, going to prison because you were beaten on. And Tammy Mensher, when Christopher Tapp told me that his father had died, Tammy loved his father. Tammy, loose lip sync shifts, right? Tammy knew that Christopher Tapp's father had died because I'd slipped it out. When her and her boyfriend Matt, the backstabber who stabbed Christopher Tapp in the worst kind of way. Holy Jesus fuck. That's gotta suck. So she got back a hold of him and pretended like she was gonna be friends with him over his dad dying, and then she pulled some really fucked up shit. Tammy's son, because she started dating Matthew, To this day, he keeps claiming that she was a cheating hoe and that kid isn't hers, and he refuses to take a DNA test and so on and so forth, and it's not his kid, and she's an evil cunt, and he shouldn't have to pay child support, but he's not gonna take a fucking DNA test. It's not his kid, and he knows it. What an asshole. He certainly ain't fucking dad of the year, that's for goddamn sure. But did he save lives? Sure he did. When Natalie was killed, he took me in for a night. It was extremely scary over at Todd Ryan Cases, and you got to hear verification from Miss Peaches on that. It was a very scary situation. And he's one of my heroes too, and we're going to speak on him. He's a hero to all of us. He's a hero to Christopher Tapp. He's a hero to Shauna Sinclair. He's a hero to Stephen McMillian. He's a hero to Christine Buhit. I got to tell you, Todd Ryan Case was a supreme human being. His moral compass was straight north. Until Natalie's death, I had never seen the chink in his armor. I'd seen the chink in Mobley's armor and in Rabbit's armor. This is the wall that they put up, their persona, who they are. Mobley, our white knight. But, again, he's an extreme Christian who has delusions of grandeur and, well, he was tripping on mushrooms one night, and Brianna Hernandez Cordona was only 17. This is before I lost my virginity to her, and she was absolutely in love with me. And earlier on in the week, everybody had been trying to run her off. She was head over heels infatuated with me and just wouldn't, she couldn't understand that I wasn't interested in a little kid. So I woke up on the courthouse lawn in Boulder, Colorado. I was taking a nap, and I woke up with this 17-year-old girl on me. No. Mobley found out about that. Later on that night, it was a fucked up situation because that underage girl, after hours, it was dark. And she wanted to come up with her all lovey-dovey being in love with me thing. I had just chastised, I was angry when I woke up with an underage girl laying on top of me. She was using my chest as a pillow. In public, on the Pearl Street Mall. I mean, the courthouse lawn is part of the Pearl Street Mall. Any of you who live there, you know what I'm talking about. Anybody who doesn't live there, it just sounds crazy talk. Wait, there's a courthouse on the mall? Yeah. They actually use it. They don't use it as a courthouse anymore. They use it for, preservation of records. Where was I going with that? Well, I'd known Fuzzy for years, and I'd seen him run off a lot of child molesters. Him and a guy named Red Dog. He and Red Dog don't get along either, because Red Dog decided he was going to mac on Tammy while they were just dating. They weren't married yet. He still hasn't forgiven Red Dog either, and he's never gonna. Boulder Police Department, as well as Boulder County Sheriff's Department, they committed a lot of felonies to try to put Christopher Tapp away. This is one of our heroes. The way that he talked to Tammy, that wasn't okay. But Tammy took it. Tammy wouldn't leave him. She was insistent that she was in love with Christopher Tapp. No matter how verbally abusive, she always took it. And any time that anybody tried to say anything, she would defend him. Battered women syndrome. But she wasn't battered. She admitted that he never, ever touched her physically like that. Ever. He never tried to force her to have sex. He never tried to do anything like that to her. He was just verbally abusive. In my situation, it wasn't just verbal abuse. Tammy Mensher could have left instead of getting physically violent. She could have left him. It was her choice to take that abuse. It was her choice to stay with him. It was her choice to assault the fuck out of him. And Christopher Tapp has to pay for it to this day. It's getting close to 8 o'clock, so Starbucks is almost closed, so I'm going to have to shut down this video here soon. I don't want to get in trouble for trespassing for being here after hours. That won't be the Starbucks people. That'll be just the cops being assholes. Now, Christopher Tapp, when Natalie died, he spent the last of his money to get a big-ass bottle of Jameson and to put gas in his car so he could come pick me up. And he was going to help me, and he was going to look at the evidence, and he was going to listen to my story. And Kimberly Jepson's cousin, Kelly Wilmoth, that's Kimberly's mom, who's also in my stories. She's the school nurse who, obviously, if you went to her about abuse, well, she wouldn't care. When you're suicidal over that abuse, she'd wait until you killed yourself and then pretend like she's sorry. Well, her niece, Kelly Wilmoth, called me up. She had seen it on the news. A lot of people had seen it on the news. People in Chapel, Nebraska, people in Scottsbluff, people all over the place. Well, you guys will believe the detective who says that he had people approach him about the Natalie thing while he was on vacation, and he wanted to get sympathy because people wanted to talk to him in Mexico while he was on vacation. And you want to claim that everybody must have forgotten about it, when I say that I'm still having to deal with it. Now, Christopher Tapp, when he picked me up, he was sober. Throughout the night, he got progressively more drunk and progressively more demanding. When I was talking to Kelly and I was trying to explain the situation, he was drunk and he had a nugget in his head and he couldn't help it. He had to do all the talking. He had to talk over me. And I had to, it was so difficult to get him to let me communicate with Kelly. I needed help stopping the abuse. And Christopher Tapp, he kept on saying I needed to get up on the top bunk. You know, this is a RV. There's basically it's a cab, and then there's an area above where you sit to drive the thing, and the passenger, of course. Above that, there's a bed. And he wanted me to get up there, and because of my back and because of my knees, especially after the assault by, Jesus fuck, so many people. Meanwhile, this whole time, I'm taking the abuse, and I'm seeing officers, and I am trying to let them know what's going on as far as the abuse goes, but I'm focused on Natalie Bollinger. That is what I'm focused on. When Natalie disappeared, well, before she disappeared, I was focused on taking her to court for her and her friends stalking me. After she disappeared, I was focused on helping find her. When it turned out she was dead, I was focused on finding her killer. My priorities are based on my moral compass. If I got to make sacrifices to keep my little sister safe, I've got a good example to follow in Michael Scott Wade. I can take whatever I have to keep my sister safe and my niece safe. I can handle that abuse. Christopher Tapp, he is hurt from Tammy. And he wanted to have the center of attention. The more drunk he got, the more he was insisting I get up on the top bunk. The more he was angry that I wouldn't. The more I explained it to him, but he was too drunk to remember things that I said 30 seconds ago, just like Shannon Alvarado. He was on repeat because he was too drunk to remember what he had said 10 minutes ago. And I explained it to him 10 minutes ago, and he's angry that he told me to get off on the top bunk, and I can't. And he started screaming at me about Tammy. You say, I don't understand. Started going off about Tammy the cunt. Tammy the cunt. Tammy the cunt. Tammy the cunt. So much hatred. And he was pushing me and he was shoving me and he told me to get the fuck out of there. And what did I do? I left. So then he comes out into the street and he's screaming and he's yelling and I am limping out of there. I can't fucking run away from him. And he's running up on the back of me and fucking shoving me and screaming at me some more. And then he tells me to come back and he's sorry. And I come back. And he's so drunk and he takes more shots of Jameson. He said he had one drink. Veronica Bruce, Region 2. When I went to her for help about the abuse with Natalie Bollinger, Brenda Dickinson's request. I called her up at Brenda Dickinson's request. This is Brenda Dickinson, who said that she thought of me like a son. So I got a hold of Missy Veronica Bruce. Her last name's not Bruce anymore, though. She took Richard's last name when she got married to him. And you got to hear her in the background. She said the same thing as Jamie, the same thing as Katie Cahill. Let me see if I can say it like it is. Like they said it. Take it down now! See, we taught women to throw tantrums when they don't get what they want right this moment. And to pretend that when a man is trying to get help for months and months and months on end, that he is demanding everything right now. No. I was nice and I was patient and I was too patient. And when I was in an extreme situation because of it, and I was under extreme duress, and I was frustrated because they weren't coming forward, they were wasting my time. When I was at Shannon Alvarado's, I talked to Christopher Tapp. I called him and I recorded it. And I explained to him about how, when he was shoving me, how it felt. How it made me feel. And he listened in that conversation. But when he found out that I had said that, didn't know that it was on the internet, that I had recorded the conversations with him. So when he wanted to call me a liar and a rat, oh, that's the one that he loved the most. Why wouldn't he go to the police? Because he didn't want to be called a rat. Oh no, Fuzzy, you're the epitome of a rat. The epitome of a rat. But you saved lives. Mobley was alive because of you. He's dead now. He wasn't murdered. He broke his own neck being a jackass and a dumb fuck trying to show off. He was a show-off. He was our white knight, yes, but he was a fucking show-off and a tail chaser. Just like Brandon Ratner is a tail chaser. Both of these guys, they wanted love. This is what both of these men wanted. But, of course, they were both quite often used by women who would pretend to have an interest in them when these men would help them. And, of course, Brandon Ratner usually had ulterior motives when he would help a woman. He's lonely. He doesn't want to be lonely. He wants the companionship of a female. But then he ends up being a carpet for 30 to 50 females a month. Just like with me, women acknowledge his existence when they need something. They might even lead him on. But you don't have to lead me on to get my help. That's the thing with Jamie Curtis. I love her and I love her son. You don't have to pretend that you want my penis in order for me to help take care of you and your son. I don't want to have sex with you. My advice would be to find somebody with a candy bar that's share size. My Snickers is not share size. There's only enough for me. If I share my Snickers with you, neither one of us will be satisfied. Christopher Tapp, what has that got to do with him? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. But that night, he was extremely abusive. He was physically abusive. He was verbally abusive. He never got physically abusive with Tammy, but he sure as fuck got physically abusive with me. But he was just pushing me. I was in extreme pain, and he was shoving me as hard as he fucking could. He took a running fucking start. Smacked me right in the back, right where my fucking injuries are. Well, actually, he hit me in the upper back. My injuries are mostly my lower back. But my upper back is affected because of where the nerves are. And because of nerve agitation. Now, according to the law, that's assault. But for me, you know, I didn't consider people... And I would consider it assault if I did it to somebody. I know what it feels like. I know how scary it is. But I also know that people have told me, oh, well, shoving somebody is an assault. It's open palm. It's open palm. It's open palm. All right. Well, that doesn't seem to be the case when it's done to a woman who's assaulting you, but okay. But by legal definition, yeah, he assaulted me. He assaulted me a lot. When I say those 15 assaults that happened in between when Natalie Bollinger disappeared and when Officer Waylon Lolatai assaulted me in the Boulder Hospital, I don't include the assaults by Fuzzy. And I am probably wrong about the timeline. I think that he helped me after I got out of jail for that assault. I believe it was right after that assault that I decided I wasn't going to be there in Longmont in his RV with him and his ex-girlfriend at that point. Later on when I was at, and you guys have probably seen the video by now, if you guys are interested in my stories, that's probably the ones that you guys want to pop up the most and make fun of a tweaker. Brett Roloff digging through his own feces for a bag, while me and his tweaker fucking girlfriend are worried that he's overdosed. Why? Because that bag of meth, well, there was no meth in it by the time he was able to find it. He found one, he double bagged it, and he found one bag at a time. It come open inside of him, and all that meth spilled into his system. While I was there, he went on vacation, sort of, to go get some more drugs in North Carolina. Bo Signs typed, hey, some questions for you after the show. Okay, you can message me at Dogged Roman, DOGGED, at, or DOGGEDROMAN at gmail.com. And that'll go to my phone, so I'll be able to see it. If it doesn't, if I send a message, if it doesn't go to you, let me know. Because there's been a lot of really screwy stuff with my internet, with my emails, with my Facebook. Anyway, Christopher Tapp did those things because he was drunk. And just like Veronica Bruce, I got a hold of her on the 29th of June. I believe it was the 29th of June, to try to get help stopping the abuse. to get help with the disability stuff that needed to get done so that I could stop the abuse. But I didn't get to say a word edgewise. I got to tell her just enough for her to know about disability. And I might have told her more than that, but with her being drunk at the time, her recollection, I'm just going based on her recollection on that. I'm giving Veronica Bruce the benefit of the doubt. Now, you see, ultimately, when she was drunk and blew me off and treated me like shit, and when I asked her if she would get a hold of me when she's sober, oh my God, then she fucking flipped her shit. I only had one drink. That was after the fact, but just like with Christopher Fuzzy Bear Tapp, he drank damn near that whole bottle of Jameson all to himself and got extremely physically violent, extremely scary, and I was scared shitless. And he kept on back and forth, and I couldn't call the cops at that point. They were still trying to pretend that I killed Natalie, and they were still trying to frame me for her fucking murder. By that point, I'd already been told that I wasn't allowed to talk to cops. If it was after the situation where I was assaulted, that's why I'm fairly certain that it was after the assault by Waylon Lolatai and before Candace Bondurant showed up and gave Rick Duran, aka Shadow, a $50 McDonald's card. That's right, she gave this tweaker a $50 McDonald's card and then later threw that in my face. I didn't make her do that or even ask her to do that. Your friends, Sean, yes, I get that, but I didn't make you do it. I didn't make the offer. I didn't ask you to do it. I didn't pressure you to do it. You don't get to throw that in my face as if that's something good that you did for me. No. When I was at Brett Roloff's, again, going off about the Tammy's a cunt, Tammy's a cunt. His extreme hatred for her to this day. That was during the 3 days that Brett Roloff was in North Carolina because I could actually make the calls without him and his girlfriend and their tweaker fucking bullshit in the background. Her stalking him via phone is recorded on my YouTube. Him digging through his feces is on my YouTube. The massive bag of meth that they left there is also on my YouTube. There's a lot of stuff on my YouTube that you might be surprised at. You'd be surprised that there's tweakers on my YouTube that helped me find evidence that was stolen by other tweakers. There's a homeless man with a heroin needle hanging out of his arm at a bus station, passed out. There's a lot. There's prostitutes on there doing some crazy tweaker stuff out in Tacoma. There's also a couple of addicts that I picked up in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and drove one of them as far as Montana. We had to get rid of her, though. Oh my God, that's some fucking bad shit, crazy shit. Oh, hell no. That other tweaker guy, he was all right. I was able to go all the way to where he needed to go and drop him off there and even meet his friends there. And of course, there's a situation where I think he was stopped to try to get some drugs. It's recorded on my YouTube channel. This is one of them Antifa fellers who wanted to talk about hurting and killing people who are racist. How about you teach them different? How about in Chapel, Nebraska, where they ain't got no black people, and the only real reference they got on black people is Bone Thugs and Harmony. If they don't want to listen to their kids playing that shit, well, I guess it's probably some modern shit about who knows what. A bunch of made-up words. A lot of it. And, of course, gangsta movies that come on to, well, the TVs everywhere. They don't know any real black people. It'd be nice if some black people would go to Chapel, Nebraska and have a big-ass fucking barbecue. That's right. Black people like barbecues too, Whitey. Christopher Tapp is a hero in his own right. The situation with Tammy, that was where he fell. That's where he had lived long enough to see himself become the villain.